The US Department of State Special Envoy for Global Youth Issues, Pasifika, has met with dozens of Pacific young people about their concerns regarding major issues like climate change and education. She met with Pasifika from across the region during a special trip to New Zealand for the 10th anniversary of the Young Pacific Leaders Program. The YPL program is a way the United States supports youth development to address global challenges. I spoke with Pasifika about the program and about why young Pacific voices are needed at the global decision-making table.
The YPL community actually consists of young leaders who are between the ages of 25 and 35. Really kind of that young professional, which is YPL is our Young Pacific Leaders Program. Island nations and territories are involved in it. And so we've got over 600 alumni that are involved in that program for young people to actually be heard in spaces where all too often in the past they haven't been. The reason this role exists is because President Biden in particular a year ago asked me to do this. So we had never had a special envoy for global youth before in the history of the United States. But it was such an important piece for him in particular to make sure that we are hearing from young people, that we are hearing their stories, and not just hearing from them and talking to them about the policy space, but also encouraging them to run for office themselves and be policymakers. I think for real change to continue to happen, we've got to have more young people at that decision-making table in that policy-making space.
What advice do you have for young people that want to break into the political space and truly make a difference and maybe even graduate from being an advocate and working alongside NGOs to becoming policymakers and being in government?
I know this sounds a little bit cheesy, but I really believe that being young, although there are so many barriers when it comes to running for office or rising within an organization, so many, right? Cultural barriers, institutional barriers, your own personal barriers of what you think you might be able to do. As many barriers as there are, I also believe that being young is your superpower, and that when you're young, you have this ability to push the envelope a little bit, take those chances, try to run for office. You might not win the first time, but you also might. Not just a nice thing to do to have young people involved and to have them at the table. It's necessary to actually, again, deal with the most pressing challenges of today and tomorrow. And so that would be my advice, is you don't have to wait, and you don't actually have to be an expert in absolutely everything before you do a thing you care about. You can continue to grow, you can know, and also you have to know your why. It cannot be because of, you think it's fancy, or because you see fancy chandeliers or a fancy title and you want that, because if it's that reason, you'll be burnt out and you'll be exhausted and you won't stay in it. It's got to be because you care about your community for a very specific reason, and you want to do more for your community and also the world as a whole. And so we need young people more than we've ever had before.
What will you be telling Biden about your visit?
One person on one island, right, can make an extraordinary difference for generations to come, and how it's so important that we continue to provide that grant funding, that we continue to provide the, leadership training, build those exchanges as well to learn from each other. That's the type of stuff that I know if we continue to do, it's not just good for this region, it's good for the United States, and it's good for the globe as a whole. And that's the type of stuff that I will continue to champion, tell everyone, not just President Biden, but literally anybody, about why this is important, and why, I again can't wait to continue to build this relationship in this capacity as Special Envoy for Global Youth. The young people I met, they are busy. They are living their lives, taking care of family, their careers, their professional organizations, and yet are still part of, as I like to say, it's citizen diplomacy of building these relationships. And it's so important on so many levels. And just to keep being involved and know that we are going to be here, continuing to be good partners in any way that we can, and continuing to listen and grow. But we can only do that if young people continue to want to be involved here. And so that just means so much to us. And again, I can't wait to be back and hope to meet even more young people when I am.